Hello again. Now, today we're going to go deeper into trying to realize or recognize fake news. So, how do we really recognize fake news? What are the ways and the tips that we could tell that this is fake or real news? The question I want to start this lecture with is there more than one side to the truth? Look at the picture carefully and write what you see. I know some of you see an old woman, others may see a tree, others may see a face. There are so many things that we can see in this picture. Let's have a look at those other pictures I want to share with you. What about this picture? Maybe there are different points of view. What can you see in these pictures? Or maybe we don't have the full picture. So what do you see in this picture? Now that we see the full picture, can we tell what it is? Or maybe we don't know what we're looking for. So, what do you think is the relation of these pictures to critical reading? Number one, it requires close examination. That is, we need to really look closely at the pictures to be able to tell what we can see. We need to look at them critically. Number two, it synthesizes different points of view. That is, in each of these pictures, there are several points of view. However, we as viewers, when we look at the picture, our job is to put all of those different points of view together. Number three, it captures the full picture. It tells us what to look for. Before we go into how to spot fake news, I just want to remind you what we said last time about how fake news is created. Remember, fake news is based on disinformation. That is information that is altered or parts of it only are being said. There are 7 main techniques used to produce fake news, as we said last time, which are satire or parody, misleading content, imposter content, fabricated content, false connection, false context, and manipulated context. But what we're going to talk about today is how do we really recognize that? There are 6 ways for us to spot fake news. Number 1, and most importantly, is develop a critical mindset. Number 2, check the source. Number 3, see who else is reporting the story. Number 4, examine the evidence. Number 5, look for fake images. Number 6, check that it sounds right. So, what does each of these things mean? Develop a critical mindset. Separating fact from fiction accurately can seem exhausting, but getting to the truth is always worth the effort, even if it is not what you want to hear. Use these 6 steps to weed out the truth from the lies. And the first step that we need to use, the first skill that we need to develop is develop our critical mindset. What does that mean? This means it's essential that you keep your emotional response to such stories in check. Instead, approach what you see and hear rationally and critically. That is, when we hear a story, we can get involved emotionally with the story. The story can make us angry or can make us sad or whatever. But when we're reading a text critically, we need to keep our emotions at check. We need to control our emotions and try to be rational and rational about it, put our feelings aside and read it critically. We need to ask ourselves questions such as, why has the story been written? Is it to persuade me of a certain viewpoint? Is it selling me a particular product? Or is it trying to get me to click through to another website? Because the intention of the writer or the purpose of the writer and the way a text is written, it's written in a way to persuade us to do something or to make us feel something. But we need to verify that this is true. We need to develop a critical mindset and not take everything at its face value. We need to question everything that we read. Number 2, check the source. If you come across a story from a source that you've never heard of before, do some digging. Find out a bit more about the publisher. Is it a professional and well-known news agency, or is it someone's personal blog? We get to hear so many stories and read a lot of news. However, not all of what we read is real and genuine. Sometimes stories are just fabricated. We need to use our critical thinking skills and other skills such as making sure of the source of this story. Ways of checking the source of the story is, if you're, example, looking at a website, is check the URL of the page. The URL is the actual address, is the web address that helps browsers find a site on the internet. There are strange sounding URLs that end in extensions like infonet and offer rather than com, or that contain spelling errors. That may mean that the source is a suspect. Number 3, if the information is something that you've been told by another person, consider his or her reputation and professional experience. Is he or she known for his expertise on the matter, or does he tend to exaggerate the truth? I mean, in the current situation with the coronavirus and everything, we hear so many people talking about the coronavirus, so many people telling us tips of how to avoid coronavirus. It depends. We cannot take every tip and every advice at its face value. We need to consider, is the person saying this somebody who knows what they're talking about? Is it somebody that has experience and has done scientific research, and what he or she is saying is based on scientific research or not? Because I'm sure you have heard millions of stories during this current situation, where you get so much advice, things like drink whatever or eat whatever or do whatever, and many times it is not true. And as a small reminder, the only truth is about avoiding coronavirus is washing your hands and keeping your social distance. This is an example of a fake news source. As you can see here, this is abcnews.com.co. This is the mimic site, or a site that is not true. This is a site that is not true. This is ABC News. It says it is ABC News, but really it is not ABC News. However, the real site is abcnews.go.com, and the logo ABC News is there, and it is different than this one. So, and then we have, in the story itself, we have the name of a person that is credible. Here is the name of the author of which is a credible source. It gives credibility to the source. So this is the real ABC News, and this is the fake ABC News. We need to be careful when we are looking at websites to make sure that we are looking at a real website and not a mimic one. Another important step, which is the third step we're talking about today, is who else is reporting the story. Check whether the story has been picked up by other well-known news publishers. Stories from organizations like Reuters, CNN, and the BBC will have been checked and verified beforehand. If the information you have isn't from a well-known source like these, there is a chance that it could be fake. So, if there is a very important story, like for example, there has been a big fire somewhere, if you read it on a website or in a newspaper, such as, for example, in our Egyptian context, Washwasha, you would have doubts about its credibility. What you need to do is verify the story and look at other news sources. For example, again, in this current situation of the COVID-19 situation and the lockdown, we get so many news pieces of news talking about the time of the lockdown or the time of the curfew. And for me, for example, the other day I got a message saying that the Prime Minister has decided that the lockdown is going to start at 3 p.m. And of course, I was not sure if this is right or wrong. And what do? So I went to the official site of the Prime Minister and checked if he had said something like that or not. And if it's not there, this means it's fake. It is not true. Number 4 or 5, I'm not sure, examine the evidence. Remember, we spoke about evidence last time. We spoke about how when a writer tells us something, they need to prove what they're saying by giving us different sources, or giving us data or research findings. So we need to examine the evidence. A credible news story will include plenty of facts, quotes from experts, survey data, and official statistics. For example, if these are missing or the source is an unknown expert or a friend, you have to question it and make sure it is true and it's not just a rumor. Another thing you need to actually do is, does the evidence prove that something definitely happened? Or have the facts been twisted to back up a particular viewpoint? Because sometimes we can find a reference to a certain research, but the research itself that has nothing to do with the actual fact or story that is being told. And sometimes there are facts, but the facts have been twisted. That is, the facts have been changed or rewritten in a way to make it seem supporting the idea that the writer is trying to say, whereas it is in fact fake news. That is a very easy one, which is look for fake images. We spoke about doctored pictures last time. So, and doctored images are all fake images. We also spoke about deep fake. That is, we can see a video, but the video is really fake. It's been doctored. Because modern editing software has made it easy for people to create fake images that look professional and real. In fact, research shows that only half of us can tell when when images are fake. Let's look at this picture together. This is one of the pictures that has been used numerously and has gone viral on social media, but it is a fake, it's a doctored picture, it's a fake image. And why is that? This is an image of somebody that was standing on the at the Twin Towers, and remember the Twin Towers that collapsed, an aeroplane went into the building, and this was a tourist. This is a picture of a tourist that was standing there. They're taking a picture and captured, and the picture shows the aeroplane. As you can see, it shows the aeroplane here. It shows the aeroplane going towards the building. But do you think this is real or fake? Of course it is fake, because nobody, it's like the space shuttle picture. How come? How cool is he? How come the plane is actually approaching the building and somebody is taking a picture there? And if that was true and the picture was taken, how did the picture survive if the whole building collapsed and people in it died? And most importantly, check that it sounds right. Use your common sense. If a story sounds unbelievable, it probably is not true. Bear in mind that fake news is designed to feed your biases or fears. That is, fake news would come out, it's going to be appealing to your emotions, it's going to be working on your emotions, and it will make you feel some way, somehow, or it will actually make you fear something more. It works on that. And remember, just because a story sounds right and true, it doesn't mean that it is. But also, on the other hand, there are stories that may sound wrong, but they're in fact right. And to be able to make sure that this is right or wrong, you need to go through the previous steps we spoke about before. So in summary, how do we really spot fake news? Number one, consider the source. That is, who is saying the story, who is reporting the story, who is the writer, what is the writer's biases? Is that person a reputable person, or is that a news source that is a reputable news source? Click away from the story to investigate the site, its mission, and its contact information. 2. Read beyond. Headlines can be outrageous in an effort to get clicks. What's the whole story? Don't just read headlines and stop there. Remember one of the techniques of creating fake news and misinformation is writing headlines that has nothing to do with the actual content. So don't focus on headlines only, you need to read the whole of the story. Number 3, check the author. Do a quick research on the author. Are they credible? Are they real? These are important things because it's very similar to checking the source. If there is a made-up name, or if that person is known for saying rumors, you need to be able to check the author and see if the story is credible or not. Supporting sources, evidence. Click on the links. Determine if the information given actually supports the story or not. What is the author's evidence? What are the things that he is giving as support to his idea or point of view? Is he using statistics? Is he using scientific research? What is he using? And those links that you have in the story are not there for decoration. You need to click on them and make sure that these are credible sources in their own right. Check the date. Reposting old news stories doesn't mean they're relevant to current events. Like we many times, as we have said and as we have seen in the previous lecture, there are many times there are stories that went viral on Facebook or were going around even in newspapers and on TV shows, but they're not related. In fact, at the beginning of this semester, there was somebody was saying that the schools are going to be closed even before the lockdown happened, and it was an interview on TV, and the interview was sent to me, and I have to admit I did not check the date, so I sent it to the dean asking him, is it true or not? And he said, have you checked the date? And I was very embarrassed because it was old news. It was something from 2 years ago. So check the date. Number 6, is it a joke? If it is too outlandish, it might be satire. Research the site and author to be sure. Somebody may just be making fun of somebody else or of some kind of situation. So we need to make sure that is it true or is it a joke? Number 7, check your biases. Consider if your own beliefs could affect your judgment. That is if it's something that we feel comfortable about, we will believe it without actually thinking about it critically. But you need to keep your biases at check. You need to check your biases and make sure that what is being said is true, not just because it sounds, not just because it's saying something that is appealing to you makes it right. It may be totally wrong, but you would believe it because it feeds your bias. And if all of those things still do not confirm if the piece of news is true or fake, ask the experts. Ask a librarian or consult a fact-checking site. You can ask other people to make sure, or consult other websites to make sure that what is being said is true. Remember, spreading fake news can cause a lot of harm. If a text or tweet or a Facebook post may suggest that the information that you have is fake, or if you have any doubts about it, avoid sharing it with others. We have all done that. We have all received information that sounded strange, but we did not stop and critically analyze it. Instead, we shared it, and then other people shared it, and other people shared it, and it became viral on Facebook. But the truth is, it was not true. So remember that this can cause a lot of harm. So please, before sharing any piece of news, just make sure it is not fake news, and that you're not just spreading rumors, but it is credible news that you are sharing. Now, it is time to reflect. I want you to think about what we have said about fake news, and whether about creating fake news, or about how fake news is created, or how fake news is spread, or the harm that is caused by fake news, and the 6 steps that we can use to avoid spreading fake news, and write one important thing that you have learned in this unit. And don't forget to also write your journal. Read critically, answer the questions in your textbooks, and become a critical reading that is aware of what they're spreading, and that is able to read the subtexts of whatever is written there. Next time, we're going to be talking more about how do we really figure out the subtext. Thank you all.